Hello, welcome back to the channel. Today is a big day. Today we are hopefully going to be solving the newest Hanayama puzzle, which is the level 6 rotor puzzle. Now level 6 is the hardest level that you can possibly get in a Hanayama puzzle, level 6 out of a possible 6. Which should mean today is going to be an extremely long, extremely tiresome, but hopefully extremely rewarding day. Now looking at the rotor puzzle, there is 2 pieces, there is lots of gaps on them. What could be so difficult about this one? Which are famous last words, but I am told that the rotor puzzle is an extremely difficult one to do. Potentially the hardest Hanayama that there is. So as always, the aim is going to be to attempt to solve this one. Then we're going to attempt to put it back together, and then at the end we will rank it on our leaderboard of hardest puzzles done so far, easiest puzzles done so far. We'll place it where we think it belongs. So I think I've bigged this one up enough. Let's crack on with attempting to solve it. So here is the rotor puzzle, and yeah, as I said, look, this shouldn't be too hard. Loads of gaps on each thing. Yeah, how difficult can this be? Usually, the box does always gives a, this is usually some sort of clue. Unfortunately, as you can see, it's not in English, so I don't know what the clue is. I do know, however, that there is multiple ways to solve this puzzle. Hopefully we can find at least one of them today. Now, what can we see? So, there's gaps in here. So those 2 bits are in the way at the minute. There is a gap here for something to slide across. There is the same gap, or a similar gap, if not the same, on the silver piece here, just there for something to slide across. These gaps in here, 2 of them look the same, and the same distance, and this one is slightly staggered. I'm not sure why that would be yet. And the gold one, same thing, normal gap, normal gap. I think that gap is smaller than that gap, looking at that. Yeah, I think this one's a bit wider, possibly. And same thing with these 2 gaps as well. This one is wider or bigger than this one, and this one I'm guessing, yeah, also has sort of like a staggered lines, gaps, whatever you want to call them. And usually it's those little differences that make all the difference, or rather they are the reason why these puzzles solve. There's also a little bit of a line in there, not sure what that is. It's only on one side of it, and it's the same in there as well. So both pieces seem to look extremely similar. So these are more tangled than you would expect them to be. And there's a lot of different movements, so we can slide over these thin parts of the outside of each piece. There's quite a bit of variance in the positions that we can be, given that I'm guessing the here and here are sort of the important parts. As always, when it comes to solving these puzzles, I'm always thinking, where's the last move? How do we separate? Where's the final move? And then you can sort of work backwards from there. But here, I'm not sure where that final move is gonna come from yet. I'm not sure what these grooves are going to be used for yet, because there doesn't seem to be many things that are actually shaped like that. And we also need to figure out what slides over there, because that's the only reason that they are there. Now, it would seem to be that those slide over there, but for that to happen, something needs to happen over here. Not sure if that is a big move or not, but we have just used these gaps here to slide up there. So it's clearly about lining up the right places with these grooves. And I think the different solutions part possibly means that there's just different ways of getting to that final position. I can't really see there being many or multiple final moves, but I can see there being lots of different ways of getting to that final move. As always, we're just spending a good bit of time just getting used to the movements and seeing where we can go. One thing I've just thought about is that I've no idea, like we're in various different positions at the minute, or we're sort of getting to one position or from one position to the other very easily, but I've no idea what the original position was. So we might struggle to get back to wherever that was, because I don't know where it was. So here, looking at this, obviously that doesn't fit over there, but I'm guessing these will fit over there. So we probably need to get almost a mirror image of this. Somehow swap this around to this position, and that might be it. That might be the final position. Because these are sort of the wrong way around. If these were sort of, if the gold bit was mirrored to this side, so if that gap was over this side, that would slide over there. And if those bits were there, we probably would be able to slide over that. Can we get to that? If we can, how do we do it? See, now what I've just said, or what I said a while ago, was I think that those had to come across there, but looking at that, even though we're being blocked by this anyway, I don't think that is meant to go over there. I think the only reason that these are here are to separate over this. I think that's the final move, getting this gap and this gap sort of in this position and separating from there. The question is, how do we unlock, or how do we get out the middle bit from here so that we're just locked in this piece here? That's the question that we need to find the answer for now. See, here is now interesting. So obviously at the minute we're just connected in this circle here, and there's no way that this is going to fit out. That is not going to squeeze through there. But there might be a combination of a bigger hole and a slightly smaller axe shape that maybe does fit through, because that would then give us only one connection. See how we're connected at two places here? If we could do that, then we get to that one connection, and that one connection, if we maneuver that around, is maybe the move before separating those bits over that bit there. Again, just throwing out ideas at the minute, trying to slowly but surely get to the answer. So I spent like, what, 25 minutes just sort of getting a feel for the movements, a feel for how I think it's going to solve, which I'm almost certain is going to be end on end separating through those pieces there. And the movements that we found, you can sort of rotate around each piece, but what I think is also an important move is sort of that swapping over there. So this gap, and it doesn't have to be this gap, all of the gaps seem to work, just going from one side in here to the other side in there. I feel like that's important. I'm not sure why. So at the minute I'm just sort of trying to repeat all the movements and I don't know, I guess hopefully fall into a certain orientation where we're in a certain circle, or we've done a certain swap over, and something happens that is not normal. That's pretty much what I'm hoping for at the minute, because I can't logically see how we separate and get to sort of one bit in one bit. I can't see that just yet. Here we've got a position where we can swap over both at the same time, which I don't think I've got to yet. But do any of these combinations lead to something different? I don't think they do. We can go to there, we can go to there, we can go to there. But we'll spend a little bit of time here. Maybe it is around here that we make the breakthrough move. Only one way to find out. Perseverance. See, now going back to this position, I feel like we need to flip it around like those there. Those line up with those on the opposite way around. And same thing here. This is, yeah, this, that's it. I think this has got to be how it solves, but this bit flipped around. So the question is, how do we flip them around? Just one of them, we don't need to flip both around. How do we flip one of these around? In what position can this swap from this position to this position? So that is the question we're going to try and answer now. My guess is it's probably nowhere near this position. Ah, right. Come on, Ross, we can do it. See here, I'm not sure whether I've flipped it around or not, but all I need now, and maybe this does require the flip, maybe I've not done a flip yet, but all I need is for this to go into here. My brain is struggling to keep up at the minute. See here, I feel like we can rotate the puzzle just by a series of moves here. So I think I've come from up here, so if we go down and then keep going round, we can twist the whole thing from there. Now, am I mistaken, or is that the twist that I need? If it is, I've already done it because I saw this move earlier, but didn't seem to help that much. But that is it, isn't it? I think we've twisted it round, and we can just keep twisting it round from there. But the issue is I don't really know how to logically get from one place to the other, because you've got to alternate twisting one through the other and then that one through that one. And I've not got the brain power to be able to either track where we're going or know how to get somewhere deliberately. But I feel like that twist is the twist that I wanted to see. But every time I sort of trial and error my way around, those things don't seem to line up, because I'm certain that we line up through where is it? This bit going over that at the same time. This bit goes over that, and then you separate with those bits end on end. That's the only way it can actually come apart. I just can't seem to get to that position. If only there's a certain position, I wish like we could just, instead of having to go over this, if I could just slide over there, that'd be much, much easier. But we can't. But we can't. Oh my god. So we found another move, and of course it's obvious when you see, when I was just saying I wish I could, if only in a certain position I could just skip across these. Turns out this one's small enough to be able to. Wow. Wow, wow, wow. That moves easily. And there as well. So is that the twist? I'm not smart enough to tell if... Right, so that is interesting. But here we're in that same position again. What I want is this in here. How do I get that? Ah, so that's interesting. So this... You can only use that to pass over with possibly one of these, which I think I identified right at the very, very start, that these have got a slightly different sized gap. I should have remembered that. See, that's something I do quite often. I notice a difference and then don't sort of take advantage of seeing that difference again later down the line, if that makes sense. At some point I'll figure out which move sort of changes the orientation at certain points, but for right now I'm sort of just not rushing, but I'm just trying to get it solved as quickly as possible now. I think we have done it. Yes, and yes. Wow. That was tough. That was tough. The reason we solved that was simply just when we eventually found all the potential moves and just trying each one until we sort of got that swap over of one of them so that we could then separate over those last two pieces. We knew how it solved quite early on. It was just discovering that final move. Like, it's obvious when you can see it now, or looking at it now, that this one is so much thinner than this one. Yeah, I should have spotted that earlier, really. But we've done it, and well, now we need to put it back together. And I'm not 100% sure on what the original position was. But yeah, anyway, we've disassembled the rotor puzzle in God knows how long. Well done, us. Okay, so if we're putting it back together, what we're going to do is essentially just aim for what is on the box in this position, and then this is the same image. So I was wondering what these sort of things were for, and maybe it is just to tell you where the starting position is. So that's the position we're going to aim for, and yeah, let's see if we can get there. And I think we've done it. I think that's the same position. Where are we? Here and here. Yeah, done. That was super quick. I expected that to be quite longer. I wish I knew what I did. That was literally just a trial and error method of, well, not really trial and error. We used all the moves that I knew that we did in the previous one, the sort of the 3 different moves that there is. And yeah, that was a lot quicker putting it back together, which is interesting. Well, rotor puzzle done. So there we go. We managed to solve the rotor puzzle. Taking it apart was extremely tough. It was very, very tough. Putting it back together happened much quicker than I expected it to. But the time it took in taking it apart, the 90 minutes, whatever it took, essentially was just a learning process through finding the possible moves. And if I'm right, I think there's 3 different types of movement that you can do. The third one, the final one that we found, being the key one, I think. Finding the fact that that one sort of axis of the 3 on each puzzle was slightly slimmer and you could sort of slide over the top of those. That was key. That took me a long time to find, but I'm very glad I did. And that's essentially what this one was a question of. I'd figured out I'd sort of gone backwards and forwards in terms of thinking, right, does it solve like this or does it solve like this? But I pretty much figured out how it was going to solve. I mean, it was fairly obvious given the sort of the grooves in those end bits, and then the grooves that went over one of the other axes, which had the sort of indents already on it. And I've always say if you can figure out how it eventually solves, then you're pretty much half of the way there. If you can figure out where point B is, you obviously start at point A, then it's easier to get to point B knowing where you are and knowing where you need to be. Whereas if you start at point A and you don't know whether you're going B, C, D, E, F, an infinite number of destinations, then it becomes 10 times harder to actually solve the puzzle in the end. And then for putting it back together was, if we stick with that metaphor of trying to get from A to B, the 3 different types of moves were almost like mini destinations on the way to B. So when we were coming back from B to A, we knew where we had to go through, which made it much easier, and why it only took, 7 minutes, I think, to put it back together, in comparison to the 90 minutes it took for us to take it apart. Now, where does the rotor puzzle rank on our hardest to easiest, going up in this direction, puzzles done so far leaderboard? Now, without question, we're looking at top row for this one. But where on that top row is it going to end up? So we're going to start at the very top. The Hourglass, currently the current king of all the Hanayamas that we've done so far. Is the rotor going to replace the Hourglass as number 1? Definitely not. The Hourglass is ridiculous. Then the rotor puzzle is very tough, but the Hourglass is, still the king of the Hanayamas in my opinion. Is it going to take the Vortex's second place? It's not. It's not going to take that one either. In third place, we've got the Quartet puzzle. These are all level 6s as well. The rotor's level 6. There's 3, I think. They're all level 6s. Is it harder than the Quartets? It is not harder than the Quartet, so we're not breaking into the top 3, unfortunately, for the rotor. In number 4, fourth place, we've got the UFO puzzle, which is a level 4, ironically. Is it going to take that place? I don't think it is. No, I think the UFO is going to stay in 4th, purely for the reason of throughout the whole thing, apart from like the last 2 minutes maybe, I had absolutely no idea how it solved. I thought it solved in a completely different way to its actual solution. So for that reason, the UFO is going to stay in 4th. Next, we have the Enigma, currently in 5th place. I think the Enigma and the rotor are almost on a par. If we skip past that and we go to the level 5 Equa puzzle, the rotor is... The Equa's a tough one, because I got very lucky with that one, solving that first time. This is a tough one. If we go further back, the Trinity puzzle, it's definitely not harder than the Radix. The Radix is easier than the rotor, so we've narrowed it down to here, 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 or here. One of 4 places at the minute. Where do we start? We're going to start by saying that the Enigma is harder than the rotor, so the Enigma is going to keep its 5th place. I actually think that it's going to sit below the Trinity puzzle. I think the moves involved in getting the Trinity puzzle apart are more complicated. I think they are harder to find. So yeah, I think we're going to sit the rotor puzzle in 8th place, which is lower than I expected coming into this, to be honest, and coming into just shooting this bit after having done the puzzle. I thought I'd place it higher, but after having a good think about it, we're going to sit after the Trinity puzzle and before the Radix puzzle. So there we go. We do not have a new king of the Hanayamas today, but we do have 40 puzzles now done. 10 puzzles on each row. Nice and neat for my liking. But anyway, that is enough babbling on about the rotor puzzle. Thank you very much for being here. In a couple of weeks we'll have a step-by-step solution to that rotor puzzle. I think it's going to take me quite a long time to figure out the best route, or if I did something wrong, or whatever it is, to the quickest solution to solving the rotor puzzle. But if you want to see that, or me solving any of these other Hanayamas and the step-by-step solutions to each and every one of them, then click my face here to subscribe. And I'm tired now. I will see you next time. Peace!